We were leaving West Palm Beach area to sail south. Our hope was to get out of Florida before the hurricane season starts. We were up and running again with an acceptable used mainsail that we picked up for about $350 the day before. It was great to have a sail that hadn't already been resewn to death. The dilemma this morning is we don't know whether to go on the inside or the outside.
Oh, we're either on the outside and we have nowhere to anchor or rest, or basically we are bound to the ocean. And if we go on the inside, we're bound by bridges, traffic, A-holes, and a bunch of other conditions. So
we either have 20. It's between 18 and 20 bridges before Fort Lauderdale. We don't know if we want to do it for fun or if we want to skip that and do the proper sailing thing and sail on the outside. But we've already done that. We've already sailed this coast. So what are we going to do? Are we going to go on the inside or the outside?
we should flip a coin.
Because the weather's good for going on the outside. We have a westerly, kind of northwesterly, that will push us down nicely against the 2 knots of current, possibly, that we will encounter. We definitely felt 2 knots pushing us northward when we came up.
Looking at the maps, the current basically is projected to be 2 knots right up to the beach.
Yes, and thus the reason for having the ICW, the reason for having the Intercoastal Waterway.
Then some a-hole went and put a bunch of bridges in the way.
Those dang kids with their cars. Early in the morning, a cloudy weekday, the Peanut Island area was much less busy than we'd seen before. But there were still some interesting super yachts to spot.
I looked at recently the Super News guy saying one of the yachts the fastest in the world. It's going to look like one.
Bravo, Eugenia. With a westerly wind blowing from the land, it seemed like a great time to start sailing south. The ocean was calm despite the massive amount of Gulf Stream current pushing against our nose, and the wind propelling us forward, sailing on a beam reach. We passed Mar-a-Lago once again. Waved at the fishermen hanging out, and wondered if we'd dodged a bullet by not passing on the inside of the ICW among all the lifting bridges and boat traffic. The wind died, and we were relying solely on our motor to push us forward now. Oh my god, he's such a loyal dog. Of course, with the current running north, very strong here, we would likely be moving backwards without our engine. Approaching Fort Lauderdale, not only was the current here, but also the wind began blowing strongly in our face. We knew from the forecast that this would be the case, but it seemed to be blowing a little earlier and a little stronger than expected, as usual. Plan B was to enter way up into Fort Lauderdale to anchor if needed, but we decided to try something Robbie had spotted on the chart instead. To grab what we understood to be a public mooring ball before the entrance into Fort Lauderdale. They have been placed here to help stop small vessels from throwing down their anchors onto the reef. The wind was supposed to change in about 3 hours, back to being a useful westerly. to get a couple of hours of sleep.
I slept like a baby.
Yeah, I got at least...
I got at least 3 or 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah. And now, the wind has switched around, so it should be better for us to continue on our way. As plane after plane approached for landing, Robbie observed someone in one of the buildings on shore pointing a laser at our boat and at the aircraft.
There. Let's see, you see the last tower?
Okay.
It's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 buildings. The one that's slightly lower than the one next to it. About halfway up the floor, there's a guy with a green laser there. I think he's pointing it on the planes.
At 5 a.m., we approached Miami and tried to decide whether we could enter in through the deep government cut or have to travel roughly 9 more nautical miles south to enter in through the relatively shallow Cape Florida. For like an hour and a half now, there's just been a lineup of one cruise ship after another heading into Miami, heading into the government cut. It was difficult crossing the large amount of marine traffic here. We were spinning in circles, waiting for cruise and cargo ships to make their way into Miami. Also, the Coast Guard announced on the radio that because of all the traffic, we would now be prohibited from entering in with them. Just as the sun was coming up, we anchored in front of No Name Harbor. After 3 more hours of sleep and rest, we decided to drop the dinghy into the water and explore the park here. Outside of the harbor is pretty rolly. However, on the inside, it's protected from all angles. There are very little waves from traffic, but it's quite congested. You must also pay to come inside, with money boxes requesting a cash fee for staying overnight at the dock or at anchor. We headed to the dinghy docking area to stretch our legs and to take a look around. The main restaurant had a home-built sailing craft that I assume made the crossing of the Gulf Stream. Because the anchorage outside No Name is open to westerly and southeasterly winds, we headed back up to Miami Center to take care of some tasks before leaving Florida. We were back at the very protected stadium. Among its charms, it's a very calm place to take care of remaining boat projects while I tried to organize them all on paper. It's not easy to remain anchored here though, as I will detail later in the video, so we decided to seek out the supposedly free City of Miami moorings that could be found a little further north. We did indeed find the mooring field. Yeah, we'll try again on a different mooring ball. But the only moorings that were not already taken seemed to be private ones.
So the blue ones are maintained by the city.
Yeah. We were looking for the hefty ones with the blue stripes. But we figured out quickly that those ones had all half or fully sunken vessels attached to them. I'm gonna go turn off.
Yeah, let's turn off the engine.
So we're already getting into the politics of this mooring field. I see how it is now. We just had a gentleman come up with his dinghy and say to us, "Oh, you're on my mooring ball." And I answered, "Well, no, actually this is a city mooring ball." And he tried to kind of angle it like we're not supposed to be on the mooring ball, but we have every right to be on the mooring ball. The problem is he mentioned you know, he lives here and he must work here in the city. So, you know, we understand we're not trying to impede locals' lives and things like that. Kind of made a deal with him, I guess kind of like a deal, and we're just going to be here a couple days and then we're going to leave. People are very territorial about their moorings. Can understand that. It's very convenient to have a mooring, but the fact of the matter is that they don't belong to individuals. That they are not private moorings. They are the city. They are in fact the city moorings. You make a choice. If you want to be on a mooring for 6 months, for 6 years, I mean, go ahead. You can have that spot and you can live at that spot. I think that's great for people. I think that security. I think that security is really good for people. But if you leave and you want to go sailing and you want to be free and you're mobile again and you move your boat, then you can lose your mooring. I mean, we're going to lose the mooring. We're not going to live here.
I mean, technically, if you had gone for water and pump out, it's kind of nice. You come back and your mooring is missing, but
that's the same for us. The same applies for us.
If you left this big dinghy with its outboard motor, I would have probably not taken this mooring.
Yes, I mean, if you put your paddleboard on a mooring ball, it's basically just flotation that points out that the mooring ball exists.
That's not even deflated.
It's a deflated paddleboard that looks like it's garbage. It's not a reason that a mooring is taken, you know? And then he said, you can just go anchor. And we said, well, can you go anchor? Like, we don't want to put you out and put you in an unsafe situation. And then he said, yes, I can anchor. So we could both anchor. We both have mobile vessels that were not in danger. And when we leave, then he will get to use the mooring. It's literally first come, first serve. And if you are not here, then you do not serve. Unfortunately, the mooring field is full of dangerous or sunken vessels, dangerous to navigation, as we discovered searching for a better spot with our dinghy. I'd like this opportunity to mention again, for those overwhelmed boat owners out there, that there is a government program that exists for Floridians to surrender their vessels before they sink. Leaving a vessel like this to rot makes it difficult and dangerous for fellow boaters, and also definitely contributes to the hate from landlubbers and authorities, who are actively trying to stop all boats from being able to find safe harbor in protected anchorages all along the Florida coast. But it's close, no? Or do we have like half a meter?
We have like a foot.
We had shit to get done, and now we would need to see how it was getting to shore here. Hold on.
Club and a half.
And I'll call you if there's anything.
Yeah, well, I probably will end up playing the phone.
We decided that life wasn't great in this part of Miami, so we would try heading back towards the stadium. We are away! We were welcomed back there by the sight of police surrounding the spot where many boaters access land by anchoring their dinghies off the shore. We pulled up at the stadium anchorage. Now Robbie's gone back to shore. He brought the dog up to shore for a short walk, and then now he's gone back to shore again. Says he's gonna film the police who are dragging dinghies out of the water, which were anchored, and then they drag them up onto shore, saying that they're anchored to the shore, which the dinghies are not supposed to be on the shore here. That much was clear to us when we arrived here last time. Now it seems they're taking dinghies out of the water.
Cutting ropes now too.
The police were removing usable, floating, non-swamped or disused-looking dinghies from the water, effectively scaring people like us from going ashore there, because the last thing that we would want is to go to shore for necessities and then to come back to our dinghy being stolen by the police. Obviously, they were not too keen about us filming.
Yep, I got 2 in here.
Now, Robbie was going to have to leave me for a couple days alone on board. So even though a strong southerly was blowing, we were forced to leave the safety of the anchorage to find pump out and water. We found out just how uncomfortable it is out there in a southerly blow. We almost got thrown up against the bridge while trying to bash against the strong wind, being pushed sideways with our dinky little engine. But we made it to the closest marina that actually offers services to cruisers. And then it was back in under the same bridge, this time with the wind, our reefed mainsail pushing us smoothly and safely back towards the protected anchorage. What am I looking for up here if the anchor's skipping?
It goes like you see, it goes like lang. Don't put it all at once, but also do not put enough that it doesn't
Grab. Yes.
It doesn't grab. It needs enough for it to grab.
I was feeling nervous about staying here solo with the heavy police presence that we'd witnessed the day before. As I've mentioned before, this well-protected anchorage attracts a lot of party boats. This is an example of the next day results of that party business. This is what the party boaters leave. Not people on sailboats, not people living on their boats, not cruisers, people who will not return here, people who don't give a shit about the environment. They come and then they go within a couple of hours. I felt like trying to clean up a little bit, but it's just an overwhelming amount, of course. And once again, here is the result of boaters who don't regularly use or dispose of their unwanted vessels properly. Owner of Sonata, come and get your boat off the beach, or if you can't get it off the beach yourself, please get in touch with Florida Wildlife Protection people, because your boat is not too badly stuck. I still see her floating at high tide, along with the 3 other boats on kind of land here in the bay. More and more garbage. The city is not picking it up. Ready to go, Choco? The police came by to visit me several times.
No, we're just doing a derelict vessel survey. I'm not calling this a derelict vessel, but we just want to make sure that all the vessels in the basin are operating.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of derelict vessels, and
a lot of boat owners just abandon their boats.
My husband and I were reading about what can be done about all the derelict vessels.
Yeah.
And they were saying that if your vessel is before it becomes derelict, that you can actually ask the city for help, or ask the Florida Fish and Wildlife?
Yeah, it's called the at-risk, it's called the Vessel Turning Program.
Okay.
So the VTIP is a program that the Florida Wildlife Estate started, and that basically allows a boat owner, if they can't own a boat anymore, they surrender it to the state.
So they can surrender it.
And then what they do is they get one citation. I think it's a $90 citation.
Yeah.
Just to make guilt. And then once they do that, they have to have the title on hand. So a boat like that sailboat over there, that's not a derelict vessel, and it has the mast, and it has a sail, and it has steerage.
Yeah.
They could surrender that one to Florida Wildlife.
Yeah, if it's still good. Because
Yeah.
I make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of vessels, and I want to get the message out.
Okay, yeah.
I make videos all about sailing and stuff, so
Oh yeah, if you ever
I wanted to confirm that program, because there is
sure.
something. Okay.
For sure, and you
Perfect.
want to put on your YouTube there. I'm the officer that deals with all the derelict vessels in the city of Miami.
Okay, perfect.
So Officer Del Castillo, I'm here, City of Miami Marine Patrol, and then I work with Florida Wildlife as well.
They confirmed what Robbie and I were reading, which was you can report your vessel to be at risk before it becomes derelict. I was happy to be inside, protected from the wind and the weather. But the price to pay anchoring here as a transiting vessel in the well-protected anchorage is that I knew that the police would definitely want to make busy work for me at some point.
Good afternoon. There's an event going on here on Saturday. It's a race.
Okay.
So we're gonna need you guys to move your vessel. Okay.
Okay.
By tomorrow, right? I don't need you to leave right now. Okay. But by tomorrow, all I need you to see the slow speed sign.
Yeah.
I just need you to be on the other side of that sign.
With a nice, fresh northerly blowing, I thought it would be a good time to reset the anchor, so I got going right away. But it was the first time I've ever needed to move Inez solo, which is a little bit complicated with our wonky gearbox.
Gotta put the engine in gear.
Engine in gear, moving the boat forward slowly, and then I gave it a little more gas as I pointed in the direction that I wanted to go. Now the hardest part about having to move spots is that there are pretty shallow, sandy humps throughout the anchorage. Once I found a pretty good space, like our dog who likes to circle his bed before lying down for a nap, I made a 360-degree spin in a nice clear location where the boat would spin at anchor, and I took note of the center of that circle. That would be where I aimed to drop the anchor. I put the engine into minimum, ran back down into the engine room to attempt to put it in reverse, and then let the anchor drop. It's difficult to get our boat to reverse much, but I gave it a little gas anyways, which got us moving backwards along with the help of the wind. But the trick is to not have that chain piling up into a big heavy ball. I really wanted the boat to tug a little more backwards. But even with the wind, we barely have any force in reverse. So maybe just a little more gas, until our speed pretty much reached 0. And it looks like I had stretched out the anchor chain a little. Hopefully the boat would be nicely anchored until Robbie returned.